Tribal women are integral part of the tribal people's collective right. Collective right, their collective dignity, it's a culture and way of life. The violation of the rights of the tribal peoples also directly affects women, and the violations of the rights as women also affects them in different ways as tribal peoples in relation to their welfare, well-being and community as a women. What is the status of land, forest and water in India, especially in the tribal belts which the ma'am was speaking. So how the tribal women experience the loss of land and displacement in particular way, in different way, because tribal people's ancestral land is the material basis that provides food and health security, and that tribal women are the main food producers, knowledge holders, healers and guardian of the culture. So when the lands are lost, women lose their self-reliance in food production, they lose their traditional knowledge on biodiversity and plants. अभी आदिवासी महिलाओं की जो हेल्थ के ऊपर बात करते हैं तो उनका जो हेल्थ स्टेटस है वो बहुत ही लो है, जो रिपोर्टेड है ना, स्टडी रिपोर्ट्स है, जो मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स है उसमें हमेशा लो दिखा जाता है, क्योंकि वो लोग बेसिकली फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर्स पे डिपेंड किए मेडिसिन के लिए टू मेंटेन द हेल्थ ऑफ द वीमेन एंड द हेल्थ ऑफ द फैमिली पीपल. Now they cannot access anymore the medicinal plants from the forest. So where do they go? So also like before they produced a number of traditional food grains. Like recently I visited Wayanad of Kerala, and a 70-year-old lady was sharing with me. The place is called Attapadi. And recently there were media reports that lots of malnutrition death is happening, malnutrition, child mortality and various kinds of issues are coming from that area. And from that experience, what I saw is this woman says, earlier we cultivated more than 200 types of food grains and innumerable types of medicinal plants which help them to maintain their health status, and today because they are displaced they cannot access those, and they are put in such a condition that they have to depend on public distribution system, which we know that corruption and the system that it doesn't reach to them. That means a community and as a whole are deprived of their traditional food and health security. Here also the traditional transfer of traditional knowledge system that is stopped, because it is no more practice, it is no more available, so it is not transferable to the next generation, to the children or to the next generation. So knowledge of medicine plants and the management of food nutrition, that is there is depth of their knowledge. So the government schemes and the policies which are made to address the displacement issues, the migration, poverty, which these are not made as per their need. Again I am giving example of Wayanad of Kerala, which is tribal populated belt. These people, they lived in the forest for centuries and centuries, and now in the name of development they have been evicted from the forest and they have put up in the resettlement areas. Just to give a simple example, the lady whom I met, she was saying that when we were in the forest for the nature's call we went anywhere, but today it is stinking around the house, which we cannot bear. Today her hen comes into my house and it shits, and on that we start fighting. You know, today we have to starve for the food, today we have to starve for, we have to fight for water, today we have to fight for everything because we have no more land. And for the burial, they don't have burial ground, they are forced to bury their own people on the backyard of their house. So in this status of mind, what will be their psychological or mental status? Maybe because of this also there are lots of like cases of depression and death, even suicides. Like recently there was a report that more than 500 people, tribal men and women from particular area of this Wayanad, they have suicided. So also when the displacement and migration happens, the traditional economic system changes when it comes to women. Like even if they are settled in some place, their traditional cultivation, जो उनका खेती बाड़ी करने का तरीका था वो वही ख़त्म हो जाता है. फिर उनका जो ट्रेडिशनल ऑक्यूपेशन था जैसे वेविंग करने का, हैंडक्राफ्ट्स मेकिंग करने का और मैनेजिंग द लाइफ स्टॉक, वो लोग बकरी या गाय पाल करके या सुअर पाल करके जो 2-4 पैसा कमाते थे वो भी वहीं पे बंद हो जाता है. तब वो लोग ऑल्टरनेटिव लाइवलीहुड सोर्सेस के खोज में जब निकलते हैं तो they reach to various kind of situations, and where they fall into different types of traps, like again trafficking and other kinds of violence against them. Somehow I feel, and many women from our community, they feel that the concept of feminist thinking on land rights is something different than the mainstream feminist movement and tribal feminism, which we may call, because we see land rights as a community rights, which ma'am was telling that from ages that was practiced now, but now it is diverting, it is already diverted and diverting to individual rights. So we have issues related to land, from different types of issues related to land grabbing from MNCs, land grabbing from outsiders, which we call dikus. So it is a panic. Already we are so much panicked that we are losing land through MNCs, lots of land, forest and water, which is our main source of livelihood. And now if this individual rights to land comes up, we do not know how we are going to look into this, or how it is going to be realized. So also under the economic, social and cultural rights, when I speak about poverty, we know that all the tribal areas are rich of natural resources, like 90% of the Indian coal and 80% of the minerals are found in tribal areas. But then how we remain poor? How we remain poor, and how we were not poor before. As a tribal children, as a tribal girl, we face challenge at primary level of school. When you go to school, we have language barriers. We cannot understand. From my experience, I'll tell, in the school, within the 4 walls, we speak in Odia, and outside of the building, we speak in our own languages. So how do we understand what we are reading? Just we are listening from the teacher. So even if we struggle and we reach up to college, either we have to depend on reservation quota wherever we are able to get in a government job, or otherwise we have no option. And when Gomti ma'am was speaking about the issues of domestic workers, they are not only illiterate girls. There are many girls who are graduates who are forced to take this job as maybe livelihood opportunity, or to earn more. And what kind of situation today they are facing in the cities? They are just stuck into that kind of work, and they are facing that different kinds of violence, sexual violence, physical violence, mental, psychological pressure, as well as the monetary exploitation. In this issue, we also are facing different new emerging issues or crisis. I would say that crisis that Adivasi society today is facing, that in central India, the girls who are coming to Delhi to work, there is a stereotype kind of thing attached to them. The boys, they don't want to get married anymore to the girls who come back from the cities, because they believe that they have lost their virginity, or they are characterless. Also, it is so pathetic and painful to see that even their own families, own family members, they have denied. These girls, from years and years, they work and they support their family. Their family income level is grown, or there is a development financially. Well-off the family happens, and after that also they are like not ready to accept those girls. I have so many girls here in Delhi who say, Didi, we don't want to go back home. Even if we have our parents or brothers, they don't want us to be back, because they are shameful. And young girls, 18 years, 14 years, they think that throughout the life, they say, जब तक जान है हम यही कमाएंगे, जब तक हाथ पैर चलता है हम यही काम करेंगे. और शायद they have to take refuge in any of the destitutes or centers. So this is the situation. Also, there is one more emerging issue which I am seeing is the issue of sexual exploitation and unwed mothers, which is rising day by day in Adivasi society. Again, I will give example of Wayanad. More than 2,000 from a particular area, more than 2,000 women are unmarried, unwed mothers. They are exploited by the tea garden owners or the ठेकेदार्स or the settlers who have come to the place. So even in Delhi, in many of the places, I see a number of unwed mothers and the children. So I don't know how it is that Adivasi society is going to handle, or how the government mechanisms or the system would also able to address this issue. यहाँ पे आज दिल्ली में हजार आदिवासी महिलाएं, यंग आदिवासी महिलाएं हैं जो डोमेस्टिक वर्कर्स हैं. वो लोग पिछले 15-20 साल से वो अपना अधिकार के लिए लड़ रहे हैं. वो लोग यहीं पर है, पार्लियामेंट यहीं पे है, पूरे सिस्टम यहीं पे है, पर आज पर कोई भी मतलब उनका जो सिचुएशन है वो चेंज नहीं हुआ है. स्टेट वायलेंस की बात ऑलरेडी मैडम ने कही है. यहाँ भी हम देखते हैं कि बहुत सारे इश्यूज आ रहा है, बहुत सारे इश्यूज जो है अनरिपोर्टेड है. मीडिया इसमें बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले कर सकती है, लेकिन वो भी नहीं होता है. हजारों महिलाएं, हजारों लड़कियां आज दे आर ट्रैप इन, दे आर प्रेस्ड एंड लाइक दोनों तरफ से उनको जो प्रेशर है, पुलिस की तरफ से और माओवादी की तरफ से, लोग बीच में पीस रहे हैं. उड़ीसा में आज पिछले कुछ साल से पुलिस में बहाली के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ किया गया है, जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ किया गया है, जिसमें लड़कियां 11-12 से ही छोड़ के वो लोग चले जाते हैं पुलिस में ज्वाइन करने के लिए, क्योंकि उनको जॉब चाहिए. लेकिन उनको ये नहीं पता कि उनका सिचुएशन क्या होगा. उनको वहीं पे पोस्ट किया जाएगा जहाँ पे वायलेंस एरिया है. इधर से माओवादी लोग आते हैं, वो लोग इनको पकड़ के लेते हैं, उनको भी वहीं पे पोस्ट किया जा रहा है. तो दोनों तरफ से आदिवासी ही पीस के वहाँ पे मर रहा है. ये जो बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं आदिवासी सोसाइटी में, और अलग अलग कम्युनिटी का फिर अलग अलग इश्यूज है, जिसको कि हम एक ही बार एक साथ एड्रेस नहीं कर सकते हैं. और हमेशा हम अपने आप को एज अ विक्टिम भी देखना नहीं चाहते हैं, क्योंकि हमने भी बहुत कुछ किया है. फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में आदिवासी महिलाओं का बहुत बड़ा रोल रहा है, लेकिन इतिहास में या लिटरेचर में कहीं दिखने को नहीं मिलता है. अब 68 इयर्स ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद में भी आज तक भी वो मतलब लिटरेचर और हिस्ट्री में ऐड नहीं हो पाया है कि कैसे वो लोग लड़े थे, अलग अलग मूवमेंट में जुड़े हुए थे, फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में. उसके बाद में जो इंडिविजुअल लीडरशिप का जो रोल रहा है आदिवासी महिलाओं का, वो भी इनविजिबल है. हम जानते ही नहीं है कि, एक एग्जांपल दूंगी कि दशरीबेन जो है गुजरात से, वो कस्तूरबा गांधी की टीचर थी. वो ये जेल में उसको पढ़ने लिखने के लिए सिखाई. हम ये बात मतलब कितने जन जानते हैं यहाँ पे. लेकिन स्वाधीनता संग्राम में सरोजिनी नायडू थी, इंदिरा गांधी थी, और दूसरे महिलाएं थे, उसके बारे में सब कोई जानते हैं. रानी गाइडिनल्यू जो आदिवासी महिला थी नागालैंड की, वो फ्रीडम मूवमेंट शुरू होने से पहले ही वो वहाँ पे अपना मूवमेंट शुरू कर चुकी थी, जो कि 14 साल जेल में थी. जो बोला जाता है कि सबसे ज़्यादा जेल जो फ्रीडम फाइटर्स ने भोगे हैं वो है गाइडिनल्यू. उसके बारे में हम कितने जन जानते हैं? कितने जन हम जानते हैं हेलेन लेप्चा या तो पुतलीमा तमंग जो सिक्किम से है, जो वो मूवमेंट में जुड़ी हुई थी, उनके लिए जीवन कहानी के ऊपर में कितने जन हम जानते हैं? कितने जन हम जानते हैं कि आदिवासी महिलाएं स्पोर्ट्स में अलग अलग फील्ड में इतना प्रोग्रेस कर चुके हैं, लेकिन इनविजिबल है वो लोग, अनसंग, उनका कहीं जिक्र नहीं होता है. तो जब हम सिर्फ इश्यूज की बात करते हैं, वायलेंस के बारे बात करते हैं, तो इन छोटी छोटी चीज़ों को भी शायद जहाँ भी हम काम करते हैं, जिस लेवल भी काम करते हैं, वो ध्यान में रखकर काम करना चाहिए. बस यहीं पे मैं अंत करती हूँ. थैंक यू.